All right, folks, spilling tea take two. Thank God I found a lot better article to pull up this time. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going to be doing a brief mini-series in regards to DEI. Before I get into the introduction here, we're going to go through the disclaimers, which really are more technically trigger warnings first. If you are very new to this channel, what we mainly cover is disability rights as well as politics, general rantings. When I decide to go full nerd, it's kind of a channel of all kinds of things, but the primary focus has to do in particular with disability rights. We've been mainly covering the case in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Center for at least the last 2 to 3 years. But due to recent things, I decided to go over DEI and what it has to do with the ABA, because you have a lot of people online that have literally no idea what the DEI actually is. They essentially treat it as, well, if you have to fill a quota of this many of this minority, this many of that minority, that means you may put someone in a job position specifically because they are disabled or they are different, someone with a person of color, because they are this type of sexuality. And that if that person, if you haven't fit your quota and that you finally get one applicant and they may not be having all the experience and education that somebody else may have, but because of DEI, we're going to prioritize them getting the job. If that's what you all really think this actually is, I've got beachfront property in Kansas with a perfect view for the ocean, and you can get it all with a fully furnished luxury house with a 3 to 30-foot swimming pool for a penny. Okay? That is actually not how DEI works at all. You guys are turning a literal policy into a slur with no clear idea what it even is. It became even more obvious when people began to drag the ADA into it. Now, we're going to go more in depth to that in regards to how though different policies, do intersect into one another as we go throughout this little mini series here. But we are going to focus specifically on DEI today, so you can understand what that actually means, as opposed to the slur people have been trying to turn it into. A little insult that you use as a bludgeon to beat back your enemies. Okay? I can only handle so much prejudice, hatred, bigotry, and hostile stupid in a day. And this has been going on for weeks. So, if you notice here, this is one of our favorite sites on this channel, Meriam Webster Dictionary. Okay? I did try a couple of previous articles, but it seemed more along the lines of the individuals writing them trying to prompt themselves up, as opposed to get specifically into the meat of the matter. And let's face it, it's Merriam-Webster all over. So we're going to have a link to this definition there in the description box. You can click on it and read it there for yourselves. So, DEI abbreviation. Now, what that actually means, the acronym is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I want to address this idea that because I happen to be autistic, if I go and apply for a job at the TSA, for example, they are not going to hire me to direct plane traffic with zero qualifications, zero experience, 0 degrees required to direct air traffic. We're going to start there. DEI is not a free pass to get whatever high job I want to without being qualified for said position, especially in regards to something that is watching over the millions of flyers and their safety every single day. If you all actually believe that, then I'm going to need you to show me statistics where you can actually show me. Don't say, but there's an inclusion program. You have no idea what that is. You have no idea what that means. And it also seems a large majority of you can't seem to figure out that someone can work for TSA and not be directing plane traffic. All right, that's enough ranting. Let's get to it, all right? In the simplest terms, a DEI-centered approach to government or business is meant to improve overall outcomes by breaking down barriers between people and putting everyone on a level as possible playing field. So what that means, folks, it means that it gives those of us who would have normally been excluded due to prejudice, in spite of having all the same qualifications as our non-minority peers, a lot of times we would be discriminated against and not even given a chance to get into that type of work, okay? Due to previously conceived beliefs in regards to whichever minority group was applying for the position. This is in particularly extremely true for those of us with disabilities, especially in regards to those of us who have developmental disabilities. Okay? Let me give you some examples. I know many neurodivergents who have MBAs, masters in journalism, in psychology, in many of the healthcare fields, nursing degrees and certifications, what have you, right? Right? But because of a preconceived idea of what a person with a developmental disability is actually capable of, even if you do come in with the proper, even if you've come in with the proper degrees, I hate to say it, folks, this is lived experience here. I'm just going to put it out there. More often than not, they still think you are unqualified to do that job. And there's also a very strong assumption that due to the developmental disability, more than likely we were just politely scooted through college and given the degrees, whether we earned them or not. This is not actually true in any way, shape, or form. I would know. I've been to college. But when you are dealing with folks who are constantly bombarded by Hollywood and the media in regards to people with developmental disabilities, they have a particular picture inside their heads in regards to what we are actually capable of doing. And even if you bring up contrary evidence, there's this general assumption, well, no, I still don't think you're capable. Speaking of college, I have an associate's in graphic arts. I finished up things in regards to it back in 2004. I have never spent a single day, not one single day, in that field. And we're talking well over 20 years afterwards. Okay? This is also in spite of the fact that multiple interviews, some of them which I had been able to obtain through the help of said college. Yeah. Yeah. That. All right. Good. I'm glad we are now on a sim level, okay? So, what then does DEI actually mean, Tiff? This means my potential employer who is interviewing me cannot simply dismiss my application and decide against hiring me simply because through an accident of birth I was born autistic. It also means if you are another type of particular minority, they also cannot be discriminated against due to being a part of said minority. What that doesn't mean is that any of us are unqualified for the job positions we are going up for. That is the lie that MAGA has been selling, and unfortunately, far too many people have been buying. Okay? DEI means that someone like me has an equal chance of being able to obtain a job position as my non-disabled, more part of the majority peer. And we have all the same degrees and experiences in regards to the position. That means we can't just be simply cast aside because of somebody else's preconceived notions of what we are capable of. It's a level playing field. What that doesn't mean is that I can wander my ass to Washington, D.C. if the only thing that is supposedly in my favor is being autistic, walk up, fill out a job application, do an interview, having zero experience in regards to what it is they do there at the TSA. And by the single fact that I'm autistic, they're just going to hand me the job. That's not how any of this works. If I, as an autistic, fill out the application and do a job interview for TSA, but I do not meet any of the criteria in regards to the folks that they hire, in regards to directing plane traffic, they are not going to give me that job. That job is going to go to someone else who may or may not be a minority that actually does have the educational background and experience that such a job requires. The only thing the DEI actually does is say you cannot discriminate against minorities and waive their applications out of your way because your assumption in regards to what we're capable of. Okay? What the Republican Party wants to do here is sell you a lie. Okay? DEI does not mean unqualified. Let me say that again for the people in the back. DEI does not mean unqualified. DEI means that I, as a part of a minority, am going to be given equal footing in competing in the job market with my neurotypical peers. Okay? That's what that means. What it also means, in regards to that level playground, if I compete with them in the job market and I'm not meeting the qualifications and the education required in regards to that job, I don't just get a free pass to do it anyway. My application will be politely declined. But if there's another autistic out there who does meet the qualifications and does have the proper educational background, decides to go up and compete for a job opportunity at the TSA, they are going to be able to allow to equally compete with our non-disabled peers. Does that make it clear for you all? Does that make it clear? Okay. We're going to be wrapping it up in a minute here, but there's a few other things that I'm going to want to address here in regards to DEI, because again, I'm just sincerely done with the stupid. I can't deal with it. I really can't deal with it. So, it's nothing but a level playing field, folks. That's all it is. And DEI is not just in regards to the job market alone. It's also in regards to education, or it opens up avenues to those of us who previously wouldn't be able to go up and get education to go into the fields that we wanted to. Diversity, equity, inclusion policy gives me the opportunity to be able to, sign up for those classes and get that sort of education. It also means that recruiters for schools will be out helping us to inform so that we can take advantage of the opportunities that previously we may not even known existed. Okay? That's all it is. It's a level playing field. It's saying that I cannot be discriminated against if I have met all of the requirements of my non-disabled peers, where everything is equal and literally the only difference happens to be my particular diagnosis. The person doing the hiring cannot use their preconceived notions of what they feel like people like me are capable of to pick one person over the other. Now, you hear a lot of people talking about merit, right? Merit, folks, is in the eye of the beholder. Let me say that again. Merit is in the eye of the beholder. It is such a vague term with no definition or any safeguards that literally that can mean whatever the employer who is interviewing you says it does. Okay? There is no guard posts, no checks and balances. Without the DEI, if you go in there and you are a person with a developmental disability or you come from one of the other minorities, they've already got a preconceived idea based on Hollywood, the media, and own life experiences what those minorities are capable of. They can decide based on those preconceived notions of what we're capable of. Well, that very obviously, due to this person's disability, they couldn't honestly, truly, really be qualified in order to receive this position. So I'm going to be sickeningly, condescendingly sweet and polite. Tell them in as flowery words as I can that they need to maybe not shoot so high. And I'm going to hire this other person here because I know they're not a part of a minority. And they're just going to be better at the job. Now you can tell me, but a lot of people, they have disabilities. They weren't just hired because they had a disability. Neither have I, Karen. I am 40 years old. I've been working since I was 16 years old. I can tell you that in the jobs that I have held, whether with the Missouri Department of Mental Health or FedEx Trade Networks or as legislative chair for APSIMO, one of the mentor to mentors, head of part of that program, the leader of my own ASD advocacy group. I can tell you, after all this and all the jobs, voluntary and non-voluntary, I have held, I have never obtained a single job position simply because I'm autistic and therefore I fit a queue that somebody else was trying to fill. Okay? Never. Remember at the beginning when I told you what I went to college for, and the fact that I have never worked a single day in my field, and that is with DEI in place. That's when they use other loopholes, such as we don't think you have enough experience for this position. That put me in a never-ending loop of trying to get in my field with the right credentials but no experience until I got tired of chasing my own tail. Okay? No one has ever hired me simply because of the fact that I am autistic, and I've always done full disclosure for every single job position I've ever held. I disclose it because once I do so, I fall under the full protection of the ADA, which gives me rights to reasonable accommodations. Okay? Has nothing to do with the hiring side of the process. DEI helps those of us who would normally be denied in regards to these types of positions, whether or not we had the qualifications for them, and put us on equal footing with our more normie peers. That's all it is. If you go up for a job that you are not even remotely qualified for, they're not just going to simply hand it to you because you fill a quota. That's what MAGA has been trying to tell you. It's a lie. It's a lie. Regardless of if I'm a part of a protected group or not, if I go up for any job position and I do not meet the criteria, they're not going to just hand me over the job. All right? Okay, that came a little bit more preachy than I anticipated, but not too bad actually when it comes for an introduction into this particular subject. So, to get to bare bones, DEI gives me equal footing. My non-typical abled peers to be able to go up for the same types of job positions as them. And as long as I meet all the requirements for the same job position, they have to give my resume the same level of weight as the non-disabled person. It doesn't mean that I can just waltz in there and leave with a job when I have not done a single damn thing to qualify for said position. Okay? Alright, so that's enough for the first one of this particular mini-series. We're going to go ahead and head out here. We don't get very many views on this channel, obviously. Remember, calling me an amateur in regards to YouTube stuff is being very polite. When we do get comments, sometimes they do get removed. Folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.